Hi, good morning. This is Susan Broder from Speak Languages and Travel the World. So, how are you this morning? I'm your English teacher here to help you with your English fluency. And so I hope you subscribe to help yourself be notified when you can watch a new video live or when I've posted a new video. And also to help these videos circulate so more people get to know about them, and so you're helping other people at the same time. By the way, don't forget to look down in the description below. There's a possibility for you to download my free fluency exercises. Okay, so what's the topic today? Now, there are usually questions that start with who does, what does, where does, but very occasionally students are perplexed because they don't understand why some questions start just with who and you're not supposed to use the does. So let me see if I can share something with you to help you clarify this. Okay, here we have it. So this this document shows you that I've chosen a sentence which is pretty much difficult to refute. Susan visits the Pope being the religious head of the Catholic Church in Rome. Now, why have I chosen this? Because I wanted to be sure that it couldn't be ambiguous. Susan can go and visit the Pope. It's very unlikely that the Pope will come and visit Susan, me not being anyone important. So that's the reason I chose this. Okay, so Susan is the subject of the sentence and the Pope is the object. I've simplified this as much as I can because I know many people's grammar is not very good, so I'm leaving it really simple, and I've also colored it to help make it easier to understand. Okay, so Susan, the subject of the sentence, the Pope, the object. Susan visits the Pope. Now, when you want to know the subject of a sentence, you have to ask who, and you ask who visits the Pope. Now, who is in red like Susan, because you know that somebody visits the Pope, but you don't know who it is. So you ask who visits the Pope, and the answer will be Susan, or Susan does, to be more precise, because it's Susan doing the action of visiting. Instead, if you know that Susan goes somewhere and visits someone, but you don't know who, you want to discover the object. Therefore, you ask, who does Susan visit? And the answer will be the Pope, because the Pope receives Susan's visit. This is an example in the present tense, but it works in all tenses. Let me share a second document with you, which can help you understand it better, and also, and also practice it a little. Here we are. I think you've got it in front of you. Yes. Okay. So here I've got it again. Susan visits the Pope. Who visits the Pope? Who does Susan visit? Now let's practice this with a love story. The problem with the love story is that, of course, it can be reciprocal. And so that's the fun or the trick in this story. So don't forget, all the ones in red are the subject, for which you ask who, and all the ones in green are the object, for which you ask who does. So let's look at the love story. It's not even a triangle, this is a square. James loves Fiona, but Fiona loves Peter. Peter loves Mary, and Mary loves James. So the question is, who loves James? Now we want to know the person loved by James. So who? Let me give you a moment to think. Who loves James? Yes, the answer is Fiona. Oh, sorry. Now I've got confused with all this. Who loves James? It's Mary loves James. Sorry, I'm getting confused in all my explanations. Sorry. James is the one receiving the love. So Mary loves James. Instead, who does James love? That's the answer. That's Fiona. You can also see it from the colors. Who, we're asking for the red, so Mary loves James, whilst who does, we're asking for the green. And therefore, who loves James? We want to know James, who is he loved by? He's loved by Mary. Whilst who does James love? Means James loves someone, we don't know who, and the answer is Fiona. So I hope I haven't confused you too much. Let's try with number 3. Who loves Mary? So the answer is Peter. Peter loves Mary because Mary is loved by Peter. Instead, who does Mary love? Mary loves James. James receives Mary's love. Let's look at number 5. Now, I hope you're getting a bit better at it. Who loves Peter? Fiona loves Peter. And who does Peter love? Peter loves Mary. Let's try number 7. Who loves Fiona? James loves Fiona. And who does Fiona love? Fiona loves Peter. Okay, it's not so easy and it's not so automatic. It does need a bit of practice. Let me show you a third document to help you. Let's share this one just to see if we can go a little bit further. Okay, so who. Now, I said that you can also use it in the other tenses. I wanted to give you an example with the past tense. So, who went to the disco with Tom? Peter and Mary went to the disco with Tom. So we want to know the subject when we're asking this question. Who went to the disco with Tom? Peter and Mary went to the disco with Tom. If you look further down, we have the question with who did? Who did Peter and Mary go to the disco with? In this case, we want to know Peter and Mary, they went to the disco, but who did they meet there, or who did they go together with? Peter and Mary went to the disco with Tom. So the answer is Tom. So in the first question, who went to the disco with Tom? The answer is Peter and Mary, because we want to know the subject. Whilst in the second question, who did Peter and Mary go to the disco with? The answer is Tom. Now, this can be transposed onto other questions. For example, how many? How many people went to the disco with Tom? So we always want to know the subject. 10 people went to the disco with Tom. Or what happened, for example? The car crashed. So we again want to know the subject, and we don't need to say what did happen. That would be a mistake. What happened? The car crashed. Instead, in the green version, where we want to know the object, there are also ways of transposing it, not only with who, but also with how many. How many people did you go to the disco with? I went to the disco with 10 people. I'm the subject, and I went with 10 people. So 10 people is the object, and that's why we use did. Or what? What did you do? There's actually a mistake here. It should be a D. What did you do? I, the subject, crashed the car, the object, and that's why we're using did. So